Good afternoon, class. So today is your first day of doing this at home, so I hope you guys enjoy it. And remember, you could start, stop, pause all throughout the video. So if you need to go to the bathroom or if you need to do something like that, go ahead, pause it, and re-begin. So today we're going to start with the objective. So the objective is I can write a series in summation notation, and I could find the sum of a series. Well, first we need to figure out what a series is. So if we look down here, here's the definition. Yesterday we dealt with sequences, and it was just a number, order, we saw patterns. Well, today we are going to add them together. So if you guys look, yesterday we did finite and infinite as well. Finite is when there was an exact number. They stopped. We had, say, 4 terms. In this case, there's 4. Otherwise, we had 7, 10 different terms. However, infinite, it went on to infinity. So this dot, dot, dot represented that the terms kept moving on. But if you notice, instead of a comma, there is a plus sign in between. And that just means that we're going to add them all together. So if we were to do this, we would use 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8. And then this equals the summation. So the summation notation is when we put this big S. It looks like a big S. It just means that you're adding up all the terms. Then if you take a look, this at the bottom represents the starting. So what we're going to start with. So we could start with, in this case, we're going to start with term 1. The top is what we end with. So it is a 4. So we're going to stop with the 4th term. If you notice, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So we're going from term 1 all the way to term 4. However, this case is a little different. If you notice, the 1 at the bottom is already still 1. So we're starting with the first term. However, there is infinity at the top. Well, if you notice, the difference between this one and that one is that it has dot, dot, dot. So it means that it is going on to infinity. So we could just keep adding. And if you notice, the rule is we are adding 2 each time. So the rule is 2n. So we add a to the n. We would set this up as 2n. Well, in this case, we are just using I. However, we can use any variable we want. This could be an I, this could be an n, it could be a t, it could be a z. So, when you are writing a notation, the series, the sum is 2i from the values of 1 to 4. So you start with the first term and you go to the 4th term. The index of the summation does not have to be I. Like I said, it could be any letter. Then the index does not need to begin at 1. In both of these cases, we began at 1, but it can begin with something else. So let's try some examples. So, want to write the series using summation notation. However, what I like to do first is I like to figure out what the pattern is. So if we look over here, well, we notice that we go up by 25 each time. So we have 25 times 1, then we have 25 times 2, then we have 25 times 3. And how do we get 250? All we did is took 25 times 10. Alright, so now let's write our rule. If we had a to the n, we would write it as 25 times the n, whatever the term we are looking for. So then, let's practice writing in summation notation. I first start by writing the big S. It is a Greek letter sigma. Now, I'm going to use I. You could use whatever letter. And I want I to begin, well, let's take a look at it. We did 25 times 1. So we are going to start at 1. Then, let's see what term we went to. Well, let's look at our last term. Our last term was 25 times 10. So in that case, 10 is going to be our ending point, so 10 is at the top. Then all you write in here is the pattern. So we want to write our rule. So in this case, it would be 25. And since we used I over here, we have to use I. This variable and that variable must match. You could use whatever variable you want, but it must match. Now let's take a look at number 2. So we have 1 over 2, 2 over 3, 3 over 4, 4 over 5. Let's think of the pattern. Well, I noticed I just did 1 over 1 plus 1. Then I did 2 over 2 plus 1, 3 over 3 plus 1, 4 over 4 plus 1. So let's first start by writing out the pattern. So if we have a to the n, we would have it be n over n plus 1. So to write summation, you start with the summation, the big sigma, and let's use I again. So we started at, what was our first n value? It was 1. So we place a 1. Then, if we notice, it went dot, dot, dot. So our ending value is infinity. So on top, you must put infinity. Then all we do is place our rule right in the middle. However, since we used I down here, we have to change the n's to i's. So we do I over I plus 1. And that is it. That is all you have to do. So I want you to pause the video and try doing 3 and 4 on your own. When you think you got it, bring the video back together. Alright, so just hit pause and then we'll begin again. Alright, welcome back. So let's practice this one. First, once again, start by finding the pattern. So we did -3, then we have 9, then we have -27. Well, I remember I said think of adding, subtracting, multiplying, squaring, and cubing. So in this case, I looked and I noticed that -3, and that was just raised to the first. Because if you notice, it went negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. Well, then I knew that -3 raised to the second would give me 9. -3 raised to the third would give me -27. Then I skipped along, and I want to know how I got to 729. Well, you guys could practice in your calculators and keep multiplying -3 together. However, I know that -3 raised to the sixth is 729. Also notice that it is a positive, so it must be one of the even roots. So my formula, my rule would be a to the n equals -3 stayed the same in each one of these. What changed? The exponent did. So our n is going to go in the exponent. Then let's write out the sigma. We started at, our first one was 1, so we put a 1 at the bottom. This is an I, sorry guys. Then what is our last number? It is 6, so 6 goes on top. Our rule goes in the middle. So -3 to the I, and we are done. All we did was change n to I. Then our last rule. Our rule goes a little bit different, but if you guys notice, -1, so I did, to get -1, I took 1, squared it, then I subtracted 2. To get 2, I did 2, squared it, subtracted 2. So 2 squared is 4, 4 minus 2 is 2. Then I took 3, I squared it, and I subtracted 2. Then I took 4, squared it, and subtracted 2. And then I took 5, squared it, and subtracted 2. Alright, so what is our rule? Our rule is a to the n. The first number is changing, so make that our n. We are squaring it and then subtracting 2. Do not forget to subtract the 2. So now, write our summation. What is our starting number? We started with our first term, which is 1. And we ended. Don't look at right here, but the dot, dot, dot means that it keeps going on. So we are going to go to infinity, place our rule in the center. I squared minus 2. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure you're putting it on the last page. But right now we are going to move on. So now, instead of writing summation notation, we want to find the sum. So we're going to add up the terms of the series. Be sure to use the correct lower and upper limits of the summation when finding the sum of a series. So, in order to do this, well, we could write out them all. So we would start with 4. So we would type 3 plus 4 squared, because wherever k is, We plug that in. Then we are going to add the next term, which is 3 plus 5 squared. Add the next term, which would be 3 plus 6 squared. Add the next term, which is 3 plus 7 squared. And our final term, because if you notice 8 is our last number, we are going to do 3 plus 8 squared. Now you could type that all in your calculator and hit enter, and we would notice we would get 205. However, I will teach you guys how to plug this in on your calculator. So hopefully you brought your calculator home and get it up. So if you guys look, all we're going to do is hit math, 0, and the summation already comes up. Well, our number is 4, so first we got to start with a variable. So hit the xt theta button, and then we are starting at 4. So make sure you type in 4. Then go up, and we are ending with 8, so type in 8, and then go to the next. And we type in our function. So we have 3 plus, and then we have k, so type in the variable, squared. Then hit enter. We arrived at 205. So I want you to try the next couple on your own. So hit pause, calculate them, and then come back to the video. Alright, so hopefully you guys got them. So let's figure out if we arrived at the right answers. So if you type this in, this one comes out to be 10. This one comes out to be 273. And this one comes out to be 34. We will practice this on our calculator. If you have any troubles, write down calculator and I'll come around to help you. But I just want you guys to notice, look at the last one. This one did not have a variable in it. So all this means that it is the sum of 1 with 34 terms. So all we're doing is adding 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 34 times. So does that not make sense why it would be 34? So here's a little side note. So the sum of n terms of 1 is just that number. So it will look like this, where we have I equals 1 to n of 1 is simply going to equal n. So just keep that in mind. So that'll be an easy test question if it does come up. Alright, so we are done with the lesson for today. However, we do have this last sheet of your page, so I want you to write down what you learned in the video, what you felt was the hardest part, because we will review tomorrow. We have all day in class to review. Then once again, I want you to write down how you feel about each objective. I know the calculator part might be hard for you, but remember, hit math 0, type it in. Math 0, type in the summation. Then I want to know how you guys feel about the objectives. Come in with any questions, comments, or concerns. Well, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and I will see you in class tomorrow. Have a good day.